Okay, I've answered this question, I think, before, but it's, should pitchers be throwing every day in the off season? How many bullpens a week? So I've done a couple segments on like how much people should throw, depending on the age, how much you should throw, when should you put the ball down, off season, stuff like that. Now, we play a game that accompanies little to none absolutes. So the whole dynamic of like, well, you're different than Johnny, and Johnny's different than Timmy, Timmy's different than whatever. The only absolutes that, in my opinion, you could find are your personalized absolutes. Meaning, like, I tried X, Y, and Z, and I didn't do it, or I didn't like it. I didn't feel good. So then I moved on. And that's like your absolute to know what works and what doesn't. So for me, when it comes to throwing volume, especially in off season, I know for sure, for a fact, that I do not like to put the ball down. Even if I do have a shutdown period or deload or whatever, I'm still playing catch, but I'm just controlling my volume. And what I mean by that is like, I'm doing the actual movement that is required to accomplish the task of throwing a baseball, but my rate of exertion is drastically lower than in season. So I also play winter ball now too, so it's like I never really have time, but ever since I started playing, like even the Arizona Fall League to winter ball, ever since I started doing stuff in the actual off season, my arm has always felt better. So give you some context, and this isn't to like encourage you to do exactly what I do. Again, my biggest encouragement is to identify these things for yourself and come to as close to absolutes as you possibly can for your own personal gain. But I will say, like, historically speaking, my first, second, third, and fourth spring training got off to a super slow start. Those are the years that I had a shutdown period in the off season. You know, I put the ball down for like 3-4 weeks, whatever, and I just felt like it wasn't the move for me. You know, you can also research like what MLB pitchers do. I know like Max Scherzer says he will not put the ball down. And I don't know, like, I'm not speaking here from a scientific proven study on the load and the stress and what that says about your need to not do that particular movement. I'm actually in the space of believing if you just deviate from the actual movement that you do in competition, that will even be more advantageous for your growth of your arm and your recovery and your health than not moving, not throwing, right? But I really do, if you take one thing from this little segment here, encourage you to come to as close to absolutes as you can for yourself on what you should and shouldn't do. There was a part 2 to that question. How many bullpens a week? In the off season, in season, there's no context to that, but I'm assuming it's off season. And again, that varies for everybody. Depends on what you need too, right? Like, if you're a guy that struggles with stuff that's occurring on the mound, command, a changeup location, breaking ball location, like, probably should increase the volume of your mound work. But if you're somebody that struggles with stuff that doesn't really relate to the mound all too much, i.e. velocity, arm strength, then that would be a little bit altered for your plan.